Hi everybody, and welcome to Fandom Focus. I'm Captain Kyle.
I'm Mae.
And we're here to talk about The Defenders, the brand new Netflix series that incorporates Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and of course Luke Cage and Danny Rand. So, The Defenders, we watched the entire series, all 8 episodes, on the first day that it came out. Overall, I will first say, I liked it. Did you like it?
I definitely enjoyed it more than either Luke Cage or Iron Fist by themselves.
So you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. However, despite our enjoyment of it, there were a couple things that weren't the best about it.
Yeah.
For one, Danny Rand.
Just in general.
Now, of the Netflix series that have led up to this, 2 seasons of Daredevil, 1 of Jessica Jones. I understand you did not see that. And by the way, we have a visitor. This is Sky. And so she might join us periodically. So, of those series, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, I thought Iron Fist was the weakest of those. Now, I'm not saying it was entirely unenjoyable, but the main thing I didn't like about it was Danny Rand was an idiot.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's... Yeah. I have no argument.
Now, my thought was maybe for the Defenders he would be less of an idiot. Did you think he was less of an idiot?
No.
No.
I would say even more so because at least on Iron Fist, the show is about him and he has to be the protagonist and usually right, whereas on Defenders, there are 4 people who are clashing and disagreeing, and he usually has the worst ideas of all of them. And they had no problem making him the worst team member.
He definitely had power with his Iron Fist.
He had power and he was able to help them, but not with his plans and ideas.
Definitely not.
They had to rescue him. They had to stop him. They had to save him on several occasions.
Well, he was the target of the Hand, so it does make sense that they would have to eventually rescue him. But my thing is, now going back to the comic books, which I understand they take creative license when they're making a show, they can't go entirely by the comic books. What I recall of reading Power Man and Iron Fist, and I will admit 100%, I am not an expert on that particular team-up, that particular comic book. My impression was that in that team-up, Power Man, aka Luke Cage, was the hothead, the one who had the temper. And I'm not going to say that I think they should have done that with Luke Cage, because I think he is perfect
the way
as a character, the way he is.
Been set up, it would be kind of an uncharacteristic change to make him suddenly be brash. He's played very well. Right.
But Iron Fist in the original comic books, the original incarnations of him, was much more introspective, much wiser, much more of a thinker. And you would think that this character, having spent all that time with the monks being taught martial arts, defense, would be not quite so much of a hothead or easily baited.
You think they would have taught him some self-control, some discipline?
That is the whole point of a lot of martial arts, is control.
I mean, he couldn't even calm himself enough to summon his chi when he was in the chair.
Yeah, my thought as far as Danny Rand, he's a hothead. Matt Murdock at one point, tells him not to act like a child, and he's all like, "Oh my God, how dare you call me a child? I'm not a child!" Wah, wah, wah.
No, and he was obviously easily baited into doing what they've been trying to prevent the whole series.
Exactly. Because
he thought, oh, I can, power my way through this, and I'm better than everyone. I'm done.
He sees the world in black and white. He sees his mission as, this is my mission. This is the only reason I exist, is to destroy the hand. And yes, that is your mission. There are different ways to accomplish that mission. Punching people.
It would be really nice to see him doing things that don't ultimately result from a battle with the hand. I want him to just be a regular superhero and help everyone, Well,
maybe we'll get that in Iron Fist Season 2.
Maybe.
Unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of development with Danny Rand. So that's one character I definitely have a problem with. I wouldn't say a problem with, but I think is not really true to the comics. They definitely need to have him...
They haven't made him someone you care about enough to have a problem with.
Well, yeah, I really don't care that much about Rich Boy Danny Rand.
It's more just, oh, he's here, okay. Where's Matt?
Yeah, Matt Murdock, well, he had 2 seasons to develop his storyline, but even in Season 1, he was a much more relatable character. Danny Rand, I'm having a hard time relating to him. I feel bad for the death of his parents. And I'm not going to say that the actor didn't do a good job. So I'm sure the actor followed the script. So I have no problems with the actor.
Yeah.
I have a big thing about actors. Don't confuse them with the characters. And if a story doesn't go the way you want, is it always the actor's fault? I'm not saying it's never the actor's fault if they don't do a good job. But there are times when they're doing exactly what they were told to do, doing it well. I think he was a convincing Danny Rand, this version of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to say, he needs to develop as a character. He needs to grow the hell up.
Yep.
Another character that I did have a bit, I wouldn't say a problem, but she's definitely changed. Madame Gao.
Yeah.
We saw her in Daredevil, and we definitely saw her in Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Here, we introduced was Sigourney Weaver's character, who was apparently leading the hand. I guess she was the thumb?
Yes.
The thumb of the hand.
Does the thumb lead the hand?
I don't know, but certainly gets rides. Sigourney Weaver was introduced as the leader of the hand. And she basically was a bit of a brown-noser, Madame Gao was.
Yeah.
Not only towards Sigourney Weaver, but then later on, like when Sigourney Weaver's character was killed by Elektra, she was all willing to lay it down on the line. It did kind of make sense that she was that way because she was apparently afraid of dying.
Yeah.
And they were very keen on getting the substance, and it didn't seem to matter to Madame Gao if Popeye the Sailor Man showed up and helped them get the substance by eating spinach and punching through that, barrier.
Yeah.
So, but still, again, Madame Gao, she seemed to have lost the pride that she had in previous
yeah, definitely in Iron Fist stories. She was intimidating. She wasn't intimidating here. She was obviously very passive and just easily dismissed.
Yeah, I mean, she did in the fight scenes have some
physical power, but no presence.
Yeah, she was not the big bad of this one. That was reserved for Sigourney Weaver's character.
And even once she was out of the picture, Gao didn't rise to take her place and, reestablish control.
Yeah, it's interesting that they just let Elektra take over. So, which brings me to Elektra. Matt Murdock's mission to save Elektra. What were your thoughts on that?
I feel like my thoughts would be petty because I've never really liked her character. Just either comics, movie, or this version. And maybe that'll be different once I go back and watch Daredevil, but as she's not a likable character to me from her other representations, I could understand him wanting to save her just from the standpoint that he loved her, but I wasn't necessarily rooting for it because she's not someone that I've been made to care about, and she seemed very changed at the beginning. So from my standpoint, I'm just thinking she's totally different. He's wrong to go after her. And then as glimpses of her started to come back, just realistically, okay, maybe there's a point in trying to reach her, but it wasn't something I was totally rooting for.
I agree. Now, Mae has not yet seen Daredevil Season 2, or Season 1 for that matter. So she came at this after having only seen Luke Cage and Iron Fist. So she has to go back and watch Jessica Jones, which will probably change the way she thinks of the 10th Doctor forever.
I can see different people in different roles, it's fine.
But Elektra was kind of like the bad girl. If there is a tendency to say, oh, that girl likes the bad boy, well, it was like Matt liked the bad girl. Elektra was definitely in that series more about throw away your responsibilities, let's go out, have some fun, beat up on people. And she was trying to tempt Matt into apparently joining the Chaste by having sex with him. So that kind of doesn't make... Anyways.
I was thinking the same thing when you said that.
But she was trying to convince him into joining forces with the Chaste.
Yeah.
Apparently, though I think she had her own motivations as well. So, I think Elektra, again, the actress did a great job. She turned from Weapon into the Elektra that was more what I remember from Season 2 of Daredevil. And she was kind of selfish and decided that she wanted the substance for herself. And she was also good at manipulating our favorite idiot, Danny Rand. That fight between Elektra and Iron Fist,
yeah.
it was pretty obvious that she was goading him into using his Iron Fist so that he would open up this dome barrier that kept a dragon's, pretty much the dragon's corpse under New York. Mm-hmm. She goaded him, and it was pretty clear that, as usual, he falls for everything. It's
somewhat understandable because you have to bear in mind that he didn't have any exposure to the outside world from, how old was he when the plane crashed?
Like 10?
From that time to when he's come back, he's only been around the monks, so he doesn't necessarily have much understanding of how the real world and people work.
Right.
He kind of has a 10-year-old's mind. He's quick acting. He's...
His girlfriend
impulsive.
Even said so, yes.
And he sees things, like you said, very simply.
And you have a point with that. And I have no problem with him not grasping exactly how the world works. But I would hope he was taught the wisdom to listen to others. When you're on a team of 4, however you got together, in a restaurant eating pork and shrimp, and 3 of your teammates, plus the old guy, say, yes, I think they want you for something, and the best thing to do is to keep you away from them. Instead of thinking I'm more knowledgeable than everybody else here.
Who actually has life experience.
Right. Then, again, his black and white, he should have listened to counsel you know, at least consider their words before he was all, let's, you know, fight on each other.
And as far as falling for the trick in a fight, he should at least be taught how to fight and know when you're being, you know, goaded and deceived.
I think he learned combat. He didn't learn strategy.
Right.
From the monks. The art of war was not something that they taught him, though they should have. So, other things about this that I did like was bringing back Foggy, bringing back Karen. And he got a haircut.
Well, he's very professional now. He's not running a little law firm.
Right, and the crossover and bringing back characters from the other series I thought was great. So I think since you have a shared universe and some of the people will overlap.
I mean, they've been overlapping a good amount even up till now.
Well,
so they get together and they realize, oh, we all have, you know, like one person, 1 degree of separation practically with everyone. Yeah,
Kevin Bacon's like, whoa, usually for me it's 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool that they already had some knowledge, and of course, Claire knew everybody.
Yeah.
You know, she first appeared in Daredevil. She appeared in Jessica Jones. She saved Luke at that time. I'm sorry, spoiler for you, but we'll get there. And she obviously was in Luke Cage, and then in Iron Fist, she was Connie Wing's student.
Yeah.
So she's like everywhere. She is like...
Yeah, and it's nice having her being one connecting thread between them all, although since she knows them all and she knows what each of them can do, you would think she'd want to bring them together before now.
Well, in her defense, she did talk to, when she met Jessica, and she says, I know a guy who can help you. And Jessica turned her down. So she's been actually willing to introduce. So I don't blame her on that. No. And now they're all together.
It's also the whole thing with each Marvel movie can't be the Avengers. So even while you think, oh, why don't they just call in Iron Man? They can't do it.
Well, they did in Spider-Man Homecoming, but that's a whole different thing. Iron Man 3.5 and Spider-Man 1/2, something like that. Yeah. So I thought overall it was good. I hope they do something better with Danny Rand in the future. He should also have a costume at some point. I mean, Luke Cage doesn't really have a costume, but he kind of has a look.
Yeah. Maybe he should get a bulletproof jacket, though. He just goes through so many.
Yeah, but bulletproof jackets aren't really all that bulletproof. So it might remain, you know, deflect a few, but he doesn't need it. It's probably a lot cheaper to buy a dozen hoodies than it would be to get a bulletproof vest that would be less than effective and still have to be like cleaned and repaired after he got shot as much as he gets shot.
I mean, like some sort of, you know, future tech.
What, is he gonna go down and
one little layer?
Hey, you can ask Reed Richards. Oh wait, no. Unfortunately, not in this universe quite yet. Who knows? One day. Anyways, he kind of has a look.
Yeah.
And this is not entirely my thoughts, because we just had a friend over who was talking about the fact that pretty much out of them all, Danny Rand again doesn't have any type of costume. It'd be nice to see.
One superhero and 3 civilian helpers.
Right, but again, Luke Cage kind of has a distinctive look. Jessica Jones, I see many cosplayers at cons, and you can tell they're Jessica Jones because
she wears the same thing every day.
Yes. Well, she wears jeans.
Like jeans?
They don't have to necessarily be the same pair of jeans. Scarves, how many scarves does one have, and how many jackets does one have? You know, she has a look. She might wear a different shirt underneath. I'm sure she does. There's no real way to cosplay Danny Rand because he's in a suit, he's in civilian clothing, he needs a look. You
would have to have a suit and your shirt open to see his tattoo.
Right. Or even just have the tattoo and you could be wearing pretty much anything.
Yeah.
As long as you're somehow showing the tattoo, you're Danny Rand. And you have to, you know, be a hothead. Okay, so, major battle.
Yeah.
And it's kind of domestic terrorism, but it was covered up. Blowing up the building to bury the last of the substance. Matt sacrifices himself trying to bring back Elektra. But then it is revealed he's alive.
Yeah.
And he's in some kind of convent. And there was a whole Frank Miller thing where, you know, there's some thing about Matt's mother might be a nun, but we'll have to see what happens with Daredevil Season 3. But did that negate his sacrifice? I mean, Marvel does that a lot.
It makes it cheap. It makes it a cheap, dramatic, emotional moment meant to shock and stir you, and then they just retcon at the end because they need to keep writing the show because he's, you know, their best character so far, and I don't like when shows and movies do that. Granted, I'm not happy to see a character die, but it negates their heroic effort, it negates their sacrifice, it makes them feel cheap and renewable and like their death doesn't matter. If I'm going to mourn a character, I want to mourn a character, I want to feel it. Like, obviously I was emotionally affected, but the whole time I knew, yeah, he's not actually dead. They're not gonna do that, so I didn't really feel it as much. I did obviously feel emotional, but I was more hurting for Karen and Foggy because they were hurting, and I was feeling for them as opposed to actually mourning Matt's loss with them, because even while I'm watching that, and it was written and acted very well, so of course it makes you sad. But I knew it didn't mean anything. I knew he'd be back either in the next season of Daredevil or at the end, and of course they did at the end, and I'm just like, okay. It's something too many shows and movies are doing to where when you see them alive at the end, it's not a shock, and it's not even, oh, I'm so relieved, because you expect it.
Well, I think, in their defense, I don't think when Matt, you know, sacrificed himself, that anyone was really going to buy that Daredevil was dead.
Yeah.
So they could have left it with not revealing that he's still alive, but as soon as they announced Daredevil Season 3, you're like, well, he's back, because they're not going to have Foggy get in the suit. Not going to happen. So I kind of appreciate a little bit the fact that they didn't, like, oh my, you know he's really alive, but we're not going to tell you he's really alive. So I kind of appreciate that. But they do have a tendency to take away death that happens. Coulson,
I think there was, yeah.
You know, died during the Avengers, but then he was back for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And that was actually surprising back then, because it didn't happen as much. No one expected it. We all thought he actually died, because they had written him to actually die. And they decided to retcon and bring him back, which was cool.
Cool, yes. And, you know, he became a bit of a fan favorite. But that's... Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a whole different discussion. But getting back to this, I mean, we do live in an age where characters do die on shows. Go back 20 years, it was unheard of for a major character to die unless they really wanted out of their contract or whatever the case might be. You know, I think you'd have to go back to Star Trek The Next Generation to see a main character die, and not necessarily really come back, though she kind of did. That can be complicated. But, you know, Kashiyar aside, now we live in an age of Game of Thrones where Eddard Stark, you know, got a little shorter at the end of the first season of Game of Thrones, and that shocked a lot of people, at least the ones who didn't read the books. Not talking about you.
No, I'm just patting you on the back for reading the books.
But though it was a shock in the books as well. And then you have The Walking Dead. And Walking Dead, I enjoy the show. They've gotten into some dark territory. They've killed off some characters. And they've kept you hanging as far as who's survived, who didn't.
But I like that they don't renege when someone dies. It's hard to.
Well, true, but then they had the whole thing where they fooled you into thinking Glenn died when Nicholas blew his brains out, and he actually dragged himself under a dumpster. So they did do a little bit of a fake out thing there. So I kind of do appreciate the fact we knew Daredevil wasn't dead. Matt Murdock, there was no way they were killing off their lead of the Defenders, the most, I'd say, popular, at least in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Of the 4 members of the Defenders. I knew they weren't killing him off, and they didn't try to fool you into thinking, did they or didn't they? So I kind of appreciate that a little bit.
But because of that, I think they shouldn't have shown the death scene. I think they should have just shown them inside the dragon, but not with the collapse that makes it look like, oh look, he's dying. Just show that, and then show the building blowing up.
They didn't show him get hit by anything. They showed the rocks falling around them. They didn't actually show him get hit.
I know, but a entire cavern and a building falling on you heavily implies death. I just think it shouldn't have been as strong an implication. I think it should have just been the building blowing up, and then you just know, oh, he's in there, but, you know, what happened?
I think that would have... I think there was a moment of doubt for people, though. I mean, even though you're like, how can they kill Daredevil? I think there was a bit of doubt. Did they kill? I think that did leave you a little bit, you know? I'm like, no way. But did they? Did they? I don't know. That's... But overall, I don't want to go too much more into this. I thought The Defenders was a very good series. It was nice to see all the characters come together. It was nice to see all the characters in the separate shows, not just the characters meeting up, but their worlds interacting. You know, Trish and Karen, and, you know, for them to actually know each other, and maybe in future series we'll see more people interacting other than just the main characters. Now the question is, in future seasons, in Daredevil Season 3 and Jessica Jones, there's probably going to be a Season 2, you know, and all these other things.
Oh, it's been confirmed.
Then awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I would be happy to see some cameos of maybe in future seasons, you know, Luke Cage stops by for a short period of an episode. Obviously, you know, a team up here and there would be good.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be the focus of the thing. They don't all have to get back together until Defenders Season 2.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that now that they've met, that there is some interaction. I'd love to hear what other people think. Did you find Danny Rand as annoying as I did? You know, what did you think of Matt's, you know, sacrifice, and was it negated? I mean, he did fully intend to sacrifice himself. Just because he didn't, he was still that kind of hero. And what do you think about where our 4 heroes go from here? Put some comments down in there. I'd love to chat about that stuff. And mash that like button. Like a potato. That'd be, if you did like this video, and if you didn't like it, then I'm sorry. You're gonna make May cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. And be sure to subscribe. We will have other videos coming out. We have plenty that you can check out that we put out before. And we'll be doing another fandom focus at some point as soon as we find something to focus on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.